video, I'm going to discuss what is a motif and how do we use this choreographic device to communicate a concept intent. The NESA Stage 6 dance syllabus defines a motif as the earliest stage of development of a theme or composition, a movement starting point which gives the first element of form to the dance work. It is the beginning of you communicating your concept intent. Let's expand on that a little bit. A motif should be a movement, gesture, or a short movement phrase which has the potential to be developed in the dance work. It should be the starting point of movement and should be one of the first things you choreograph when you begin to generate movement for your composition. Before you get to the stage of creating movement, you would have wanted to really flesh out your idea for your concept intent. You need to have a very good understanding of what it is you want to say. You will struggle to communicate this through movement if you don't have a clear and simple concept intent and know where you are going to take this concept intent in your composition. Make sure you also spend time planning how you are going to communicate your concept intent through movement before you even begin dancing. I would suggest brainstorming which aspects of the elements of dance will help you best communicate your concept intent and utilise them in developing a short movement, gesture or phrase as a motif. Your motif will become the starting point of movement for your dance and will become the essence of your dance. The motif should be repeated with integrity and developed into phrases and manipulated throughout the dance. This is one aspect that will help you work towards creating unity in your dance work. One of the most common ways you would be familiar with in terms of developing or manipulating motif is to use the 16 ways to manipulate a motif. I'm now going to demonstrate a motif and go through the 16 ways that you can manipulate a motif. The 16 ways are: repetition, repeat the movement exactly the same. Retrograde, perform it backwards. Inversion, perform the motif upside down or lateral. Size, condense or expand the size of the motif. Tempo, make the motif faster or slower or stop. Rhythm, vary the rhythm but not the tempo. The variety and pattern of the beat should be altered, not the speed or the length of time it takes to accomplish. Quality, vary the movement quality of the motif. Instrumentation, perform the movement with a different body part or try several different body parts. Force, vary the amount of force you use in producing the movement. Background, change the design of the rest of the body from its original position. Staging, perform the motif in a different place on the stage. Embellishment, the movement itself can have the embellishment and have an extension, or a part of the body can be embellished as it is involved in the movement. Change of planes or levels. Change the motif to a different plane or perform it on a different level. Additive, incorporative. Additive is while doing the original motif, you simultaneously execute a jump, turn or locomotor movement. Incorporative is you perform a jump or turn or locomotor movement whilst doing the motif. Fragmentation. Use only a part of the motif in its whole entity or a separate part of the motif individually. And combination. Combine any of these 16 ways and perform them together. You can also manipulate your motif using any of the elements of dance. Some of those are mentioned and used in the 16 ways, but any aspects of the elements of dance you can use to help alter, manipulate or develop your motif. Another thing to think about when developing your motif is it doesn't have to be a short movement, phrase or gesture. You can actually use one of the elements of dance as your motif. For example, you could use a dynamic quality or a different aspect of time, such as accent or a tempo. This helps add a more sophisticated layer to your composition and would only be used if it was integral to the whole performance, and you might still then have a movement as a motif as well. The next thing you'd want to do is you'd want to try and build on your motif. You'd want to try and create a phrase from your motif or manipulate your motif, and these are great ways to generate movement for your composition. Remember to keep referring back to which elements of dance you have selected in your planning and ensure your movement is utilising these to help clearly communicate your concept intent. Also helps your movement feel like it belongs together and is another way in helping develop unity in your composition. All of these choices are of course dependent on your concept intent and thinking through what are the ways to most clearly communicate your concept intent. You should always be able to link your movement back to how it is communicating your concept intent. When you're developing movement for your composition, I want you to always come back to thinking about what are you wanting to say in your composition, and then think through how can I communicate it through movement. Happy choreographing!